My children. I love my children. They're great. My son is, in many ways, a little mini-me. He's a bookworm. He's excited about history, superheroes, Star Wars, and about a million other things that I enjoy. My daughter is a quirky, eccentric, musical little goofball. And they're both a lot of fun to be around, and I really enjoy being their dad. Genuinely. But there's a disturbing trend in my house, magnified by roughly 4 weeks of round-the-clock togetherness. My kids, angelic little cherubs though they may be, have a streak of vengeance in them. In what I can only say is an absolute shock, I've discovered that neither of them are very good at letting things go. We've had talks about how to handle our emotions. We've discussed the importance of forgiveness. I've explained to them the way that escalation in warfare happens, but none of it seems to sink in. Of course, I remember being more or less the same way with my brother when I was a kid. But I've grown up. Haven't I? I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we say we like the idea of forgiveness, that we're mature, well-adjusted people who are willing to forgive the wrongs that others commit against us. But the truth is, we only like forgiveness when it's given to us, not when we are called on to give it. Here's what Jesus has to say about forgiveness and retaliation and revenge. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if anyone would sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. Now, I want to be upfront with you and acknowledge that the turn the other cheek passage is loaded with historical background. Interpretation has involved master-slave power dynamics. It's involved sociological arguments that we could bring up, but I also think most of the way that those bits of information have been utilized in interpreting the passage are done with the intention of obscuring, or maybe even dismissing, the general point. No matter who you are, no matter what your social standing or your power dynamic with another individual might be, you are called to bring conflict to an end, not to further it. This is being a peacemaker, and it's hard to put into practice. Think about it like this. If you're a driver who has ever been cut off, tailgated, or otherwise wronged while on the road, what is your natural inclination toward the person in the other vehicle? I'll give you a moment to honestly reflect on that question. Just think about it for just a second. All right. And now I'll be completely honest with you. I get angry. I don't like when people tailgate me. It makes me really angry. And I think I'm justified to be upset with them about driving dangerously. However, I'm ashamed to admit that I let that anger, many times, the frustration that I've felt, come out in ways that are equally unsafe, ways that are reckless with my life and with the life of the other person. And why? Because my sense of rage overwhelms my reason. It overwhelms my sense of forgiveness. I fail to identify the person in that other vehicle as someone God loves. And I consider my own sense of justice more important than God's love for them. In my self-righteous indignation, I fail to consider the other person as being as important as myself. I pray today that God would give you peace in your heart over the situations in which you've been wronged. Some of those situations are certainly bigger than the example of being cut off or tailgated, but fostering anger over those situations will not fix them. Just like getting angry with the person in the other car and treating my own life and theirs as collateral doesn't fix it. Getting even will not fix hurt. You don't have to like the people who've hurt you, but if you foster anger in your heart, you cannot heal. Jesus wants us to love people. Jesus wants us to love them even when we might have cause to seek retribution. An eye for an eye will never lead to the healing of the nations. It will only lead to a world full of blindness. I love you, and I want to encourage you to go and love others today.